Hi guys, today I wanted to talk with you about something that has been on my mind lately, and that involves spices and herbs, and how often different brands of spices have been found to have high levels of toxic heavy metals. Every couple of months I see a report of different brands of spices, various spices, being found to have high levels of toxic heavy metals. Not only do we use spices to add flavor to our food, but we also use spices for their health benefits. So I find it very concerning that a lot of us are potentially sprinkling toxic heavy metals on our foods thinking that it's healthy. And so I wanted to make this video to talk with you about what I've found and how I've mitigated this risk. And it's even more concerning that the spices that are thought to be the most beneficial to our health are the ones that are more likely to be laced with toxic levels of heavy metals like lead, cadmium, and arsenic. So these include oregano, turmeric, cinnamon, and thyme. Heavy metals are toxic to the body because they can interfere with essential biological processes in the body. They accumulate in tissues over time and then start disrupting enzymatic reactions, impairing cell function, causing oxidative stress and aging, which can lead to organ damage. So this is why it's really important to know where your spices are sourced. So we're going to talk about that later on in the video. Now I'm just going to give you a little snapshot of what I've seen in the literature over the past several years. One concerning report came out. It was published in 2021 by Consumer Reports. It was a study in which they did extensive testing on 15 types of dried herbs and spices, and they included 126 different products from a whole bunch of different brands sold in stores across the nation. About 1/3, so 33% of the tested products had high enough levels of arsenic, lead, cadmium combined on average to pose a health concern for children when they regularly consumed these spices in typical serving sizes, and most of the levels that were found also raised concern for the health of adults. So this was 40 of the 126 products. 31 of those products had lead levels that exceeded the maximum amount anyone should have in a day. Oregano and thyme were particularly worrisome because 100% of these products tested showed concerning levels of heavy metals. As another example, the FDA alerted people living in the US in March of 2024 to not use or buy certain lots of brands of ground cinnamon because testing found that they had elevated levels of lead. The FDA began testing cinnamon sold at various stores after several brands of fruit puree apple pouches were linked to cases of lead poisoning in nearly 500 children several years ago. The cinnamon in those applesauce pouches were determined to be the source of the lead. Now, lead is especially dangerous to children because it causes significant damage to their developing brains. Lead can lead to behavioral problems, learning difficulties, and decreased IQ in children. So it's really important that we protect our children from lead. Okay, so why are spices commonly laced with heavy metals? Sometimes heavy metals can be found in spices because they're grown in soils that are contaminated with heavy metals. So the heavy metals in soils can either be there naturally from natural occurrences or because the soil is contaminated from pesticides or industrial runoff. For instance, many herbs that are sourced from China can be contaminated with heavy metals because they're grown in soils that are heavily polluted due to the industrial waste that has accumulated in the soils for years and years, and they don't break down very easily. So they accumulate in the soils and then they get absorbed by the plants that are grown in that soil. I'm about to share with you some very disturbing information that I found. And that is that some spices are actually intentionally laced with heavy metals by their manufacturers in order to cheapen the manufacturing of the product. For instance, cinnamon suppliers may intentionally add lead to the cinnamon to enhance the color or to increase the weight of the product to make it cheaper. Now, this is even more disturbing. This is what was suspected in that case in which several cinnamon applesauce pouch brands were recalled by the FDA because they caused lead poisoning in 500 children. The cinnamon in those applesauce pouches were thought to be intentionally laced with lead. Apparently, it's not uncommon for the food industry to add fillers and compounds, some of which may be toxic, like heavy metals, in order to cheapen the production of the food item. For instance, in 2008, a major food safety incident in China occurred in which melamine was intentionally added to milk products such as infant formula, plain milk, yogurt, ice cream, and they did this in order to boost the protein content. The problem with this is that melamine is a synthetic material that's typically used for manufacturing laminates, plastic, glues, and some types of dishes and kitchenware. It has absolutely no role in the body. In fact, it's toxic to the body. The melamine-laced milk products led to numerous illnesses, especially kidney damage and kidney stones, as well as death in 6 people, including children. Some of these products were also exported to other countries in the world. So all of that being said, I think it's really important to understand where your spices are coming from. And I thought I would compile a couple of tips that I've implemented to protect myself and my family from heavy metals and spices. Number 1, know where your spices are sourced and grown. I prefer to use spices sourced from organic farms in the US because these soils are less likely to be contaminated with heavy metals. Number 2, ensure that the spice product is quality tested, preferably by an unbiased third party. The website that I use is momavation.com. This website has tested many different brands of spices for heavy metals, and it's also released a list of products to avoid, as well as products that were found to have minimal levels of toxic heavy metals. So I'm going to link that page in the description. I also thought it was important to note that all oregano and thyme products tested by Momavation showed concerning levels of heavy metals. Therefore, it was recommended that these spices are purchased either fresh or grown from your own garden. The third rule, which I've recently implemented and which I've tried to abide by as often as I can, which I forgot to mention in my original filming of this video, is to buy your herbs fresh, or if you have time, to grow your own, which I'm planning on doing. I haven't gotten around to doing that yet. I just try to buy as many fresh herbs as I can. See, we've got some ginger root here, some turmeric. Say you buy herbs and you can't use them all up before they go bad. What you could do is just chop them up and freeze them to preserve them. This is not my work, this is my mom's work. Thank you, Mom. This is parsley. The great thing about fresh herbs is that they are more bioavailable. The nutrients are more bioactive because they're fresh. So that's an added health benefit. And if they're organic and grown here in the US, then they're most likely going to contain minimal levels of those toxic heavy metals. That's what I do. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Your support really helps motivate me to create more content like this. Thank you guys, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.